Shabbat Shalom. Peace and grace be with you. This is a special service at Temple Yeshua today. It's Yom HaShoah, the day where we remember the Holocaust of the Jewish people and others in Europe between 1933 and 1945. During that time, 6 million Jews were killed. That represented 2/3 of the Jewish population in Europe at that time. At the beginning of the 20th century, there was about 17 million Jews in the world. In 1945, that number became 11 million. And today, it's about 15 million. So the Jewish community has not recovered in numbers to the point they were at the beginning of the 20th century. Today we are privileged to have with us Julius Maslavat, a Holocaust survivor who has lived in Victoria since 1998. You will hear his story by way of a video, and then he will answer your questions. The video, of course, is about his life from the beginning, right through the Holocaust, and basically, I think, includes up to the present time. So, I have some comments to put this in perspective today, as we're here, about anti-Semitism. In the Times columnist of April the 9th, there was an article from the Canadian Press. I'll just read briefly from it. Holocaust denial is to be outlawed in Canada in for the further effort to stamp out rising anti-Semitism. The federal government is set to make it a criminal offense to make a statement denying the Holocaust took place or condoning or downplaying the killing of Jews by the Nazi regime, except in private conversation. Ministers plan to use a bill enacting the budget to swiftly change the criminal code. Budget documents show. The move to outlaw the Holocaust denial comes as MPs and anti-hate groups warn about the rise of white supremacies and anti-Semitism in Canada. Jewish Canadians comprise 1% of the Canadian population, yet are the target of 62% of all religiously motivated hate crimes, said Richard Marceau, Vice President of the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. We live in a time of rising anti-Semitism. Another report from the Time columnist recently, a couple of days ago, April 26th. Record levels of anti-Semitism were recorded in Canada last year, with a sharp increase in Quebec and British Columbia, according to a report published Sunday. Anti-Semitism incidents rose overall by 7%, but the number of violent incidents rose by over 700%, from 9 in 2020 to 75 in 2021. The most anti-Semitic incidents occurred in Quebec last year, which saw 828 incidents last year, up from 686 in 2020. British Columbia saw a 111% increase to 409 incidents in 2021 from 194, including 56 cases of vandalism and 296 cases of online abuse and hatred. Interestingly enough, there was a decline in anti-Semitism in the Atlantic provinces and in Ontario. It sharply increased in Alberta and more than doubled in the prairies and Nunavut. Lastly, I want to refer to a portion of a book about Eric, about Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Dietrich was a pastor in Germany during the Holocaust, and he was a shining light against Nazism for some time, did what he could to fight it for a long time, and was finally arrested, and they hung him a few days before the war was over, just to be really evil. So he was engaged to be married at the time that he was hanged. I just want to quote from a book by Eric Metaxas, who comments in the book named Bonhoeffer: pastor, martyr, prophet, spy. But Bonhoeffer knew that a church that did not stand with the Jews was not the church of Jesus Christ. Dietrich Bonhoeffer clearly saw the spiritual consequences of Christians not opposing persecution of the Jews. In his famous declaration, and there are a number of famous declarations of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, this is one of them. Only he who cries out for the Jews may sing Gregorian chants. A Gregorian chant is a traditional song from the Middle Ages. It's sung in unison, without any instruments. There's a free rhythm to it. The people just rise and sing. And so Dietrich was referring to praise and worship when he said that. Only he who cries out for the Jews may sing praise and worship to God. That's how strongly he felt about what was going on. As far as he was concerned, to dare to sing to God when his chosen people were being beaten and murdered meant that one must speak out against suffering. If one was unwilling to do this, God was not interested in one's worship. And obviously, those words are still with us today. So we're going to begin with Psalm 49. Psalm 49, two of the themes of Psalm 49 are death and sorrow. There is some hope in the psalm, but the overriding themes are themes of death and sorrow. Psalm 49. Hear this, all you peoples. Listen, all who live in this world, both low and high, rich and poor. My mouth will speak words of wisdom. The utterance from my heart will give understanding. I will turn my ear to a proverb. With the harp I will expound my riddle. Why should I fear when evil days come, when wicked deceivers surround me? Those who trust in their wealth and boast of their great riches. No man can redeem the life of another or give to God a ransom for him. The ransom for a life is costly. No payment is ever enough. That he should live on forever, and not see decay. For all can see that wise men die. The foolish and the senseless alike perish and leave their wealth to others. Their tombs remain their houses forever, their dwelling for endless generations. Though they have named lands after themselves, but man, despite his riches, does not endure. He is like the beasts that perish. This is the fate of those who trust in themselves and of their followers who approve their sayings. Like sheep, they are destined for the grave, and death will feed on them. The upright will rule over them in the morning. Their forms will decay in the grave, far from their princely mansions. But God will redeem my life from the grave. He will surely take me to himself. Do not be overawed when a man grows rich, when the splendor of his house increases. For he will take nothing with him when he dies. His splendor will not descend with him. For while he lives, he counted himself blessed, and men praise him when you prosper. He will join the generation of his fathers, who will never see the light of life. Man who has riches without understanding is like a beast that perishes. This is one of the psalms that the Jewish people often recite on Yom HaShoah.